All right, now joining the show, we have on singer Grace Lawton. Grace, how are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing good. Happy to get you on. You're a class of 21 from UConn, so you just graduated. How does that feel?
It's a little sad, I have to tell you that, but definitely ready to graduate and move on to my next chapter in life.
Nice, nice. So we've had a couple different UConn artists on. Trey's been on before. JR's been on twice. Suts is coming on later this week. So the UConn kind of music scene I think is very interesting because you all kind of work together and are work with everybody at least once it seems like. So I find that super interesting.
Yeah, definitely.
So you worked with Trey on the song basically.
Yes.
What was that like? Because I know you were in like an acapella group, and then you do. No, I don't mean like an actual song, but you're doing a song where there's a beat with it instead of you guys making the music.
Yeah, so what basically happened is that by word of mouth, Robbie found out that I was a singer through one of our mutual friends, and he reached out to me on Instagram, and he basically said like, "Hi, like I'm looking to make an album, and I really need a female voice on one of my tracks, and like I would love for you to be on it." Like, and at this point, like I thought that he had maybe heard me sing before, but
Mhm.
I literally showed up the day of. He had sent me the track, and he sent me a couple lyrics, and I sang like a couple verses and he's like, "Oh, you're actually pretty good." And I was like, well, "You've never heard me?" But he just invited me to come, and I did it with JR, and he was recording it the whole time. He was super, super nice. And they were like, it was awesome, like a very encouraging environment too, because it's the first time I really like recorded something professionally like that,
Mhm.
besides an acapella when it was more of a group thing. So it was my first time recording individually. So it was really awesome.
That's cool. Now, I don't want to sound. I don't know if this is a dumb question, but you were in the acapella group. It was the Cordials choir.
Yes.
Okay. I want to make sure, but was it anything like Pitch Perfect? Because that's I think the only with pop culture. That's the only I think real acapella that a lot of people on the outside have actually seen, and even with me, that's all I've seen. So
Yeah. Okay. Well, so we don't compete personally. There's
okay,
one or two other groups who do compete, but we personally don't. It is
okay,
a little similar with like the people who give the pitches and then we're all like harmonizing and like all that kind of stuff. It kind of is a little similar to that. But we don't do type mashup songs. We're definitely like a more like empowering kind of girl. I'm an all female group. So
okay.
it is like, I guess you can kind of draw the similarity between Pitch Perfect, but it's a little different. We don't really compete, but it's definitely the same vibe. Definitely all the girls are very enthusiastic and everyone loves to like break out in song. It's like 100% like that. Like everyone is like that in the group.
That's cool. Now, do you get that a lot? Because I feel like people that don't know about acapella, that's the immediate
Yes.
first thing that everybody goes to right away.
Yeah, do you have a pitch pipe? I'm like, no. One of the girls in our group actually has perfect pitch. So like you can give her a note and she'll give you the pitch. So that's kind of like our pitch pipe. But yeah, it's
Gotcha.
a little similar, but we don't compete or anything. So it's kind of like the difference.
Now, have you been in like a group with like a co-ed group? Because you say you're in an all-female group. Like, have you noticed like what's the big difference when you're singing where it's like half girls, half guys versus all girls?
Yeah, so basically when I auditioned, I had only ever been in choir when I was in high school. I auditioned my sophomore spring, and the huge difference is that like we need people to fill those lower notes, and
Mhm.
that's where like kind of the difference is. When you have a male group, you'll have tenors and basses, whereas when you're an all female group, like we can't hit those low notes. So I was a soprano all throughout high school, and then had to drop down and like do all the like if you we have an album out, it's called A Cherry on Top, and it was the
Okay.
UConn Chordials. We recorded an album, and I'm singing all the lower parts because I got put on bass, but I can sing pretty high. I can do like whistle tones and stuff like that, but they drop me down to bass because my voice can go low. So that's like kind of the big difference, is that we can't do arrangements with too low of notes because none of us can hit it. So that's probably the biggest difference.
Gotcha. Now, you said you were in choir in high school. At what point did you realize like that I always feel like you were good at music. Like, was it when you were younger, or did you hit high school and kind of just join choir and then find that to be your niche?
Yeah, so I was more of like a theater person in high school, which it's
Okay.
surprising because when you come and do music like I recorded with Robbie and like an a cappella group, they don't really want people with more theatrical voices because they don't really blend, they're more nasally.
Mhm.
So when I was in high school, I didn't really like audition for solos. I didn't really try to like stand out in the music scene just because I wasn't like confident with my abilities of singing. But as soon as I got to college, I was like, okay, acapella is something I definitely would want to try. Like I knew I had a voice, and it was the day of auditions for Cordials, and it was at like they have auditions until like 1 a.m. So my audition was at like 12:30 in the morning, and I was like,
Jeez.
I don't want to go. I'm not going to go. And this other girl was auditioning. She's like, you have to go. Like you just have to. And so I went,
Yeah.
loved it, and definitely like my voice is like a little more nasally, so that was kind of like one of the issues I ran into. So definitely blending is something I've had to work on personally. I had like a vocal coach for a while, so that was something I worked on with blending with other people because my voice is kind of you can hear it. People know my voice when
Mhm.
I'm even talking. So that was something I went through. But definitely in high school, I knew that I wanted to sing and I knew that I could sing, but it was definitely like getting out there and putting myself out there and auditioning for solos, auditioning for groups that I didn't have the confidence for. And then I came to college and I was like, okay, like I want to do something with this.
Now, when you say like the nasally voice, how do you work on that? Because I feel like it's very tough to change your voice, especially I imagine when you're singing too, because you probably want to revert back to what is natural for you. So how were you able to kind of keep like to prevent that the nasally sound to come into your
Yeah.
music?
So I think that joining my a cappella group has definitely helped me a lot with that. Like I said, I have a musical theater background. So
Mhm.
when I got trained professionally, like by a vocal coach, she was more of a theatrical type of vocal coach. So when you sing in like in theater, you have more of a nasally kind of tone. Like it's not really something that would blend with other people. So when I came and joined Cordials, they kind of told me that my voice wasn't the best for blending. Like it's a good
Mhm.
solo voice, but they kind of taught me to have more singing from my it's like not really from my face, but it's more so like my stomach.
Okay.
So definitely worked on that. But we had so many workshops. They taught us so much. I've learned so much about music. Like I can harmonize with any song now. Like they've taught me so much about like my own voice and also how to blend with others. But it was definitely kind of hard because you want to revert back to like how you normally sing in the car.
Right.
But yeah, you want to be able to blend with others to make it sound the best. And that's also what I did with Robbie. I didn't like it wouldn't sound that great if I had my more nasally kind of voice. So I had to kind of go
Mhm.
back to like a more like stomach tone to make it sound good.
Now, when you're like singing in the car or in the shower, like everybody does,
Yeah.
do you focus on keeping on singing from your stomach, or do you go back to your normal? Because I feel like if I were doing it, I would just go back to my normal, especially if I'm in the car alone. You're kind of you sing reckless, like that's just how
Yeah.
it is.
True. I mean, it depends on the song. Like if I'm singing a song that's like a pop song, like I'll definitely try to, do like a normal kind of voice. But then if I'm singing like kind of like a more musical theater song, I'll definitely go back to like a performing type of like nasally type voice. But I
Gotcha.
think it varies. I definitely can control it and I definitely like sometimes I don't notice it, but I definitely have learned how to blend it,
Mhm.
which is exactly where I want to be. So
No, what got you into theater in high school? Like, was it something that you kind of were brought up doing, or did you have like a bunch of friends that were doing it and you just decided to kind of try it out and it just kind of stuck with you through high school?
yeah, so when I like before I started high school, all my friends would do like theater camps and stuff. So I obviously I was like, oh, I'll do that too. So I
Yeah.
started doing that with them, and then it kind of translated into high school and doing that. And then like by my senior year, I was like, I had like a leading role in the musical, and it was just like an awesome experience. I really liked it, but I knew that I wanted to shy away from that and kind of go more into like a performing type of just like focus on musical and not really like performing, if that makes
Mhm.
sense. Like a more
Yeah.
like pop kind of vibe than musical like theater kind of thing.
No, what was your what play did you guys do your senior year?
So we did like a taste of Broadway type thing. So we did School of Rock, and I had
Okay.
yeah. So in the Broadway one, like I was one of the. If I don't know if you ever seen School of Rock, but
Yeah.
the Miranda Cosgrove girl, like,
Ah, okay.
yeah,
Okay. Yeah, yeah.
and people say that that was typecasted for me, which is a little insulting. But in the musical, I had my own song, and that was like a really awesome experience. So it was awesome doing that.
That's cool. Now, do you have like in high school, how nerve-wracking was it to go in front of, especially in college, I imagine your confidence built, but like when you're a high school kid, especially, you've got classmates in the audience. What were the nerves like for that, especially growing through high school from like freshman to senior year?
Yeah. So people, like to like this day, people are like, oh, theater, like that's like not cool at all. So that was definitely kind of like the vibe in high school, that people didn't really like come out that much for our shows. But I always found it to be like really, really fun. And like I always have loved performing no matter what. So like I would not care about, like I'd post it, I'll be like, come to the show, like I'm doing
Right.
this. And like, and especially like now in college, I feel like people think that that's so cool. And like I will
Yeah.
freely be like, I was a theater kid, and like people will be
Mhm.
like, that is cool, because people in like college like don't care.
Right.
So
Right.
I mean, yeah, you definitely have people in high school and everyone's kind of going through an awkward phase where like, oh, my theater is like not that cool. But definitely now like I kind of own it rather than being like
Do you think like with high school, you kind of had like when you're performing, you have to own it, because if you don't and you're kind of playing awkward, that's almost worse than like when you're trying to play it cool versus just fully embracing it.
Yeah, definitely. Like I just I think if I like held back and all, like it'd just be like not even worth it to go through all the practices and rehearsals, because
Mhm.
it takes so much time to put on like a huge show like that. Like even like in a high school level, like not even like college level, whatever. Like even at a high school level, that's so much time out of like your week just like practicing and performing. So you might as well just go like 150% rather than holding back at all. So I was just kind of like, like I'm just gonna do this to the fullest of my abilities, and like I don't regret it at all. And like I think it's really like helped me a lot with my confidence as a performer, because now I'll come to like, and now I'm in college, and like I
Mhm.
had like built the confidence to try out for Chordials, and like I've incorporated music into every single like extracurricular I've done thus far.
Okay. Now, what do you major in at UConn, or what did you major in at UConn?
So I graduated with a communications and psychology degree.
Okay, so what's the? I know you just graduated. You're probably still running off that, but like, what's the plan music wise for you and career wise? Like, how are you going to try to balance the two? Are you going to try to balance the two?
So I mean, like, I definitely could see myself kind of like doing something with music in the future. Like I said, like everything that I did in college, like I really tried to incorporate music.
Mhm.
Like I was a member of Gamma Phi Beta, and I was like the song chair. So at like I was in charge of like organizing a group of girls to sing like songs for us. And
Okay.
then I was on Club Swim as well, and I'd always sing the national anthem, and that was awesome. So I always kind of like had a little thing for music. So it's a huge part of my life, and I can't see myself letting it go soon. But my mom is like my biggest supporter, and she's like, oh, we need to send basically to Justin Bieber. And I'm like, I don't know. But
It doesn't hurt to it doesn't hurt to do it.
yeah, I could definitely see myself like recording my own music in the
Mhm.
future. We professionally recorded one of my songs for the Cordials. It's on our Instagram, and that was really cool. So I could definitely see myself doing something like that with my own music. Career wise, I'm not too sure. I don't know. I have a major that I can do a lot of stuff with. So
Right.
as of right now, I'm kind of just like figuring that out, and kind of just like I just graduated, so I need a couple this summer at least.
Definitely, definitely. Now you said you were a member of the club swim team. Did you swim in high school too?
I did. Yeah. So that all went on like during the same time. Like I was really busy in high school, but I was really, really busy in college. Like I had the three things that I was doing, and I'd constantly be running from place to place, like missing an hour of this, like missing an hour of that to make it to the other thing. So
Mhm.
I like to stay busy, but it definitely was a little hard.
At any point did you kind of come like did you I imagine maybe like sophomore, junior, did you maybe come to the thought like I may have to quit one of these things? And at what point, at which one would have been on the chopping block for you?
Yeah, so I mean, I definitely did come to that kind of point my junior year, definitely because I had positions in like a couple of them. So it was getting a little overwhelming, and having, especially that first week when you have like recruitment for sorority, you're recruiting new singers and you're recruiting new members for Club Swim. That
Mhm.
was like probably the busiest week. My junior year, that was like the busiest week of my entire life. And that was really overwhelming. And I think the first one that would have to have gone would have been Club Swim, just
Mhm.
because it was kind of just like a 2-day-a-week thing. And like I was newly into the Chordials, and it's such a humongous commitment. Like it's like 6 hours a week, plus you have to do your own stuff at home. And so that probably would have been the first one. Club Swim probably would have been the first one to go, because it's kind of like was a more kind of fun thing that I did when I could.
When you say like you practiced at home, I'm assuming like you had the certain songs you guys were singing. How did you kind of keep yourself committed to like making sure you went home to practice? Because I can imagine like you're singing there, you probably are worn out. What really drove you to kind of want to practice at home and want to get better?
So when you're in a group of like 13 girls and you come in for practice and someone's not prepared, like you know it. And you don't want to come, everyone's tired, everyone's like taking the time to go home and learn their music, and you don't want to be the one person who comes in unprepared and like ruins it for everyone, that everyone has to put in more time. And like I was saying before, like I was on a bass part, which is like a very, very key part of songs to keep tempo and to keep pitch. So me and like 2 other girls would always be on that part. So that was definitely very key to like the process of all the songs and practicing them. So I just never wanted to come in unprepared and like screw everybody else up. So it was hard because like I said, like I was really, really busy, but I just didn't want to disappoint the other girls in the group. And it was definitely really hard, but I wanted to like do my part and make sure I delivered.
So it was more for you like an accountability thing versus a you thing. You wanted to be there for the other 12 girls versus yourself.
More so. I mean, I wanted to be good myself, but I definitely didn't want to let anyone else down. Like, and also, like I said, like I didn't really come from a background of like singing with other people and blending with other people. So I definitely needed to work on like that aspect of things. Like all the girls who I sang with came from intense choir backgrounds, who were in a cappella groups in high school, who were music majors. There was like 3 music majors. So I came in probably one of the least educated about singing in a group like this. And so I definitely felt that pressure, and I definitely wanted to deliver for the other girls in the group. So it was definitely hard, but I just didn't want to disappoint anyone. I didn't want to disappoint myself or like waste my own time or anyone else's. So
that's completely understandable. So you mentioned before that you haven't really recorded your own, like you recorded a song, you said. When you decide to record down the line, what kind of music style are you going to go for? Or do you maybe have like an idea of what it would be like?
I definitely really liked the vibe that Robbie has. Like when we recorded that, he sent me kind of like a recording of the tempo and the beat that he wanted to do. And one part of it is the part where I kind of go high into like a ooh, that part. I like changed the tempo of that, and like that little like kind of like rap part, I like came up with all the lyrics and I came up with the beat of that. So kind of something similar to that. I really like the upbeat kind of tempo. So definitely something like pop, but I also really like R&B, kind of like a little slower as well, but definitely like, I don't know, if I really like her, the artist. I really, really like her. So maybe something a little similar, like R&B wise to that. But I'm not sure. I haven't really like gotten into writing yet. I haven't really gotten into writing anything on my own, just because I don't really play any instruments. So that's why I had like reached out to Robbie again. And I was like, I'd love to record something with you again, just like to have that. And like he's so good with like, everything music related, and so was like JR. So
now through high school, like your progression from high school to college, what were your music inspirations at the time, and like through that, and then who did you try to maybe like model yourself a little bit after when you were singing, if you had somebody you modeled yourself after?
In high school, again, like I really think that like I really did focus more on like musical type artists, like definitely like musical theater. Like I was a huge fan of like Defying Gravity, like Wicked, like all those kinds of things. And then when I came to college and I kind of wanted to sing more like pop, I mean, I love like Ariana Grande, like she's an amazing singer. And I try to sing all her songs. Like I try to do all the kind of like whistle tones and stuff like that. Little hard, little high for me, but I try my best. Also like I probably say like Taylor Swift like today. She's
Okay.
really good. Not so much the country, can't really sing country, but like kind of like her newer stuff I also really like.
Gotcha. Now, a question we kind of ask everybody. I'm curious what your answer for it will be. So we always ask whenever we have an athlete on what their pregame playlist is, or a former athlete. So I'm very curious as to what your like 3 songs before you swim, what those
Hmm.
are, versus maybe like I always call it like a pregame ritual, but like your pre-performance ritual for when you're singing in your a cappella group. Like
Mm.
I'm curious as to how those two differ for you.
Yeah. I mean, like before I'm swimming, like I am blasting like anything like rap, like anything like hype up, like probably like Big Booty Mix, honestly, because that's like a
Okay.
mix of like all different things. Probably before I'm gonna swim, but
Did
before
you
I'm
listen to
about
the most recent one? Did you listen
I
to that?
didn't. I didn't. I like the one that starts with Queen. That's like my favorite one. I don't know if it's
Okay.
14 or 15, but that's like my favorite one.
Yeah. I think it's
Yeah.
15. I could be
Okay.
wrong, but
Yeah, but I love those. I just think it's like a good mix, and it's always like very like builds up to something, and
mhm.
that like especially that one, like that's why I loved it. Before I swim, definitely listening to music though, because I can't like look around or I get too nervous. Very nervous before I swim, but before I perform, it's definitely just like singing over the songs that we're about to perform. Probably just like I mean, one of my favorite songs to perform is "Take Me to Church." We sing that.
Oh, it's a great song.
Yeah, so definitely like songs like that, definitely like running them over in my head and like remembering my parts for them.
Did you have a ritual maybe like or even just like through the day before you had a big before you had your play in high school? Did you have anything like you and some friends would do, like a place you guys would go out to eat, or something maybe you would do on your own, just out kind of just to take your mind off it or to prepare yourself for your play?
Yeah, so the day usually the in high school, the day of like performances, we would all come like before each period would start, and we'd go to like the bridge, which is like I went to Daniel Hand High School. So we
Okay.
had like a bridge connecting our two like schools, and we'd go to the bridge, like all the kids who were in the show, and we'd all kind of just like go together and like advertise the show and like yell to people like who are like, oh, we're coming to the show tonight, like da 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 da. So I think just kind of like being not so much like taking it easy and like kind of just not trying to like think about anything, but I think just definitely just getting excited about it, like
Mhm.
definitely just like hyping it up rather than being like, oh, I'm so nervous, because I feel like when you have that kind of attitude you'll just psych yourself out. So
Yep.
definitely just like being excited about it, like getting like very hyped and like motivated. So definitely that kind of like atmosphere, and like again, like I would definitely just like run over my lines, my songs, like I'm constantly singing and constantly going over stuff, especially like when I have like a show or like a performance, like I'm constantly practicing like where I'm going. So
Now with Daniel Hand, it's a big football high school. Was it did you guys almost feel overshadowed? Because I can imagine it's a huge sports high school.
yeah, yes.
Was that
So
definitely tough as a member of theater? Because I can imagine it was.
yeah, so my dad actually coached for Daniel Hand football.
Okay.
Yeah, so it was definitely like a little bit of like a competitive kind of vibe. I mean, also like football was in the fall and like the
Mhm.
musical was always in the spring.
Oh,
But
okay.
definitely, I think definitely being an athlete, but also being in that kind of like, because I feel like there are a lot of people who are either like athletics or they're in kind of like a theater kind of thing.
Yeah,
But I
not
think
too many blend.
exactly. So I think being in like a blended position, like I learned to like appreciate both like sports and like the arts program. I definitely saw people like paying a lot more attention to like sports rather than like the arts. But I
Mhm.
think I think like again, like as you grow older, like people like look back and like have like an appreciation for both. I just think like in a like kind of an awkward time, people are like, oh, sports, like Daniel Hand, like football team, like da 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 da,
Right.
not really thinking about our arts program. But I think like looking back, people are like, it's actually pretty cool that you did that. So
It's definitely cool thinking because I think if you mention Hand to anybody in Connecticut, they automatically think NFL players, state championships, all that. So if somebody acknowledges that you did theater and like we're able to acknowledge that, I think that's pretty cool. It must feel good at least.
yeah, I mean, going to UConn, like I'm going to school with over 200 people I went to high school with.
Oh wow,
So yeah, it is absolute. I don't go anywhere without seeing like someone I know. Like I see someone everywhere. So
that's nuts.
definitely kind of yeah, definitely like that reputation like kind of like carried with me like being that person. But like I'm like so proud of everything I did in high school, and I'm so happy that I joined like I did swimming and I did like theater and I did everything I did there because it's gotten me to like where I am today. So I don't regret any of it.
Now, did you want to do some type of like theater in college? Because I know colleges have different types of theater and stuff. So did that play any factor into where you wanted to go to college and ending up at UConn?
So I actually was thinking about swimming D3 at
Okay.
Dickinson. So that was like
Okay.
one kind of like path I was thinking about. I didn't think like theater would really take me anywhere because I wasn't like I never like put myself out there to the point where I was like getting leads in every single show. Like I only really put myself out there for the last show, and it was kind of a little too late because I was already kind of decided on a college I'd
Yeah.
choose UConn. But when I came to college, the first thing I did was join club swimming, and I joined a sorority, and I was like, I don't really know if I have time for anything else. And then like I kind of stumbled upon Cordials and A Capella, and I was like, maybe I can make an exception for like one more thing, like I could fit it into my schedule. Yeah, I never really thought of doing anything like theatrical at college, just because like I don't think UConn has like a humongous like performing arts program. Like I know we have a fine arts school, but it's not like huge. So I just kind
Gotcha.
of thought that like Cordials like would be my one thing, like my musical thing to kind of like channel that part of me.
Now, before I let you go, Grace, what would be I always kind of bring it back to sports, but what would be your recruitment pitch to somebody that wants to join Cordials? Like, what's your pitch to them as to why they should try out?
Yeah, so especially for Cordials, I think that the reason that I joined the group is because it's a very cohesive, empowered group of like 13 girls who are all there to not only like make music, but I can genuinely say that I am like best friends with every single girl there. Like I enjoy, it's not something I dread, it's something that I enjoy going to, and I love every single girl in it, and I want to be better for them and for me.
Mhm.
So if I had to make a pitch for it, I would just say if you're interested in making music with a group of girls who are as like dedicated and as motivated and passionate about music as you are, then definitely join Cordials.
That's awesome. Grace, I appreciate you coming on. If you ever make music or promoting music, anything like that, we'd love to get you back on to talk about that.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
No problem, Grace. Where can people find you on social media and the Cordials too?
Okay, so I'm Grace Lawton 1 on Instagram, and then the Cordials is I think just like UConn underscore Cordials, and then if you look it up, it's like the third post down is Dead Man's Arms, which is my song, so which we
All
recorded
right.
professionally, so that's a good one.
Sounds good. Grace, I appreciate you coming on.
Thank
Uh,
you.
thank you for listening to this episode of the My Parents Office podcast. Stay tuned for more episodes we're going to be bringing to you guys. Thank you.